This podcast often contains controversial or mature topics. You have been warned. Welcome back to Raygun Readers. Where the fuck have we been? I don't know. Where have we been, Papreeka?
We've been on
Drugs.
Drug City 3.
Drug City 3?
In puritanical retreat for the...
Are we going monastical on this? We're heading to the regions of Space Mountains and reclusing ourselves like monks?
No.
That's not a word, by the way.
No,
I made that up.
we've been in retreat on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Right.
On mind-altering drugs.
Yes.
And
the only type there is, but yes.
And we've been following the teacher. What's the teacher's name? Abysmii.
Its name is Anderson Valley. And I got to say that the teacher, Fallhorn and Pumpkin Ale is a little bit too strong in the pumpkin, and I need to tone it back, otherwise it'd be a great fall ale. But that is the teacher's name, is Anderson Valley.
How dare you speak against the teacher?
The
teacher says full pumpkin.
We fled the teacher, and we are no longer bound by the teacher's teachings.
It's going to take me a while to agree with you on that. I've still got a little bit of the mentality.
You got to break the conditioning.
I got to break the pumpkin conditioning.
Oh, hi everyone. Yeah, it's been a long time. We've been kind of trying to figure out what we want to do with the channel, and we got a lot planned, but this is just a spur of the moment thing. Basically, I just saw Venom. The Marvel movie Venom. Papreeka did not see it. Papreeka came home and didn't want to see it. And
I had a long week.
Yeah, you did have a long week. That's
but
true.
Regardless, I had a long week in retreat.
You did. I fled the monastery early to see Venom because it was more interesting. And so I just the only reason I'm even talking about this, and I came home and to the spaceship and I said, Papreeka, we have to make a recording. We have to do this now while it's fresh in my mind. Venom is a B movie level sci-fi horror that the studio did not realize it was making. And I'm going to try over the next half hour, however long this will take, to convince you of that. Okay? Are you on board for this?
No.
Okay.
Why are you asking?
Either way, we're here. This is what we're gonna do. So let's talk about Venom.
Okay.
So, you and I don't have a lot of love for Marvel movies. They're kind of run of the mill at this point.
Well, I will say that I'd say about 2 years ago we were still excited about them, even though it wasn't necessarily our thing. Now they're all kind of just falling into the pile of that over there that we don't really have interest in, that we're not really spending the time on.
Yeah.
There's a few standouts here and there, but overall, I mean, they all turned out to be the same thing. They're all like completely overproduced and almost cartoon levels of stuff flying in your face and opinions. My bad.
No, but that is accurate to how we feel. We have friends who are Marvel superfans who will agree, yeah, they're not all great, but I know what I'm getting into when I watch a Marvel movie. Like, there's a baseline. And for you and I think the problem is that they stick so strictly to that baseline that every movie we see is like, okay. That's a lot like the last one. Yeah. Even if it's about different characters, and you would expect them to take different approaches, and they don't.
Yeah, it's all like, I hate to talk about. No, never mind. All of the villains are generic. They all like there's no standouts as far as villains go, except for what? I mean, it crosses over because we're talking about
nothing.
We're talking about Marvel, but I would also throw DC in the pot as well because DC villains stand out, and they're known for standing out.
Well, the comic book versions do.
Yeah, but even still,
Batman's Rogue Gallery are the best superhero villains, and none of that, except for maybe the Joker in the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, stands through. But that was a long time ago, and that is not what DC movies are right now.
Right. And so, I mean, we didn't see Infinity War, so we don't really have anything to say about Thanos. Maybe he's a great villain. But
Haven't seen most of the Marvel
so
movies.
the plot
Yeah.
of every Marvel movie follows the same structure, which is, you know, you meet your characters,
Origin
something
story.
bad happens, something worse happens, they defeat the villain,
Super
everyone goes home happy.
weapon, revenge story, and then it somehow links into other ones that you have to see now, and we don't care. We really don't care.
Basically.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no,
Opinions.
that's correct. That's correct as far as I'm concerned.
Correct. I don't know about correct. That's
Well,
us.
that is our opinions of the franchise, which is not to say that you can't like these, like what you like, but that's just why we have not been seeing them. And it feels kind of bad because when I went to see Venom, one of the trailers was for Captain Marvel. And I'm looking at Captain Marvel and I'm thinking, this is a movie that I should love.
Captain Marvel, that's the one where it's the kid who gets turned into... Which one's that?
No, Captain Marvel.
Shazam I was interested in.
That was Shazam.
Because the Tick was awesome.
Yes.
And I'm like, isn't Shazam just doing what the Tick did?
It feels like the Tick, yeah. That's
but
not this.
The Tick already came out, though.
Tick is great, by the way. If you have Amazon Prime, watch that shit. It's amazing. No, Captain Marvel is... I mean, there's different versions, but this movie version is a woman has like implanted memories. Turns out she's a space alien meant to fight the Cruel, whatever. Basically, it's aliens from space are invading Earth, and you need to fight them. And she's got superpowers. And I'm like, I should like this. This is sci-fi schlock.
But we have no faith.
But we have no faith in the studio's abilities.
Yeah, I think the last movie we actually saw in theaters was Black Panther. Last superhero movie.
That's correct.
And
that was a while ago.
There was a lot of interesting, cool stuff happening in Black Panther, but like they were still following the same tropes.
Overall,
the villain. I will admit that the villain was much more interesting in Black Panther.
Very grounded.
Much more interesting.
Yes.
Than usual. For current superhero movies.
And it was still a revenge story, but it was one
but
that
even still they had to
emotion to it.
But even still the plot had to jump all over the place, and
you
had to have like the over the top science female who's like unbelievable, and then like
the second pointless casino scene of the year that we didn't need in a movie.
Oh yeah, that happened. Where was that, in Japan?
Korea.
I think.
Like it had
it was in Korea.
There's no point to it. It didn't need to happen.
Yeah, they're like undercover, these really like
oh no, cover was blown.
Prominently black guys undercover in Korea.
One of the most xenophobic nations of the world. Yeah. That was stupid.
Yeah.
So basically to sum it up, we don't have the highest opinion of Marvel movies. So why did I go to Venom? Well, kind of like Doctor Strange, this one just caught my eye. It looked somewhat interesting. And I'll say it right now, I don't know shit about Superman, Spider-Man. I'm drunk, if that was not apparent. I don't know shit about...
How are you already so drunk?
Dude, I had a lot of drinks at the theater. So, I don't know shit about Spider-Man. I don't... Like, I know a little bit about him. I've never cared for him that much. Venom was kind of cool, but I don't know shit about Venom. So I really went into this movie.
Venom is like the parasite anti-Spider-Man.
Yes.
He's like the foil of Spider-Man or whatever.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
From my understanding, yeah. So I went into this movie.
They already made that movie. Wasn't that like Spider-Man 3? They had Venom in it?
Yeah.
With Tobey Maguire?
It sucked. Apparently it sucked. I didn't see it, but it sucked.
That's not my point, but it happened like 5 years ago?
Spider-Man's been rebooted like a billion times.
Recently, which is
also
playing into the fact that nobody cares.
I saw a trailer rebooting it again for the next, but it's like a different like animated spin-off. I know. Whatever. My point is, I went into this movie with very little just prior knowledge, which kind of actually adds to my enjoyment of it. And the reason for that is I don't know Venom's origin story. So I don't know if this origin story, and it is canon or not, or if it's like a popular timeline or what have you.
Uh-huh.
But here we go. It opens with a shuttle from space crash landing on Earth.
So is this like spoilers now?
Oh, sorry. Major spoilers. I'm spoiling this whole goddamn movie. So it starts out with a shuttle from space on re-entry, and something goes wrong. We don't know exactly what. It's never actually explained. And it crash lands on Earth, and then a symbiote gets loose. It's carrying, I think, 3 or 4 symbiotes, which is this weird black matter. and one of them gets out. And so automatically off the bat, I'm like, oh, this kind of feels like a sci-fi horror movie.
Yeah.
They got something from space that, that it doesn't appear naturally on Earth, and it's not going to infect things. Okay. Interesting. As it's revealed, Tom Hardy's character...
Is he Spider-Man?
No, Eddie Brock. His name is Eddie Brock. He is also a reporter. He got kicked...
For the Daily Planet or whatever.
The Daily Globe. He got kicked out. He got fired, and he moved from New York to San Francisco, which is where this takes place. And he's an investigative journalist. And he's like this kind of hot shot, I'm going to expose all the bad people and all the bad stuff happening in the Bay Area. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's probably canon. That sounds about right. And then the Elon Musk character comes in. There is a one-dimensional Elon Musk villain.
They did that
in this film.
They turned... What, in the last Batman movie, they turned Lex Luthor into like a one-dimensional
but it's so
Elon
much
Musk.
more blatant. Like, he's in San Francisco. He's sending rockets to space. SpaceX, but it's called the Life Foundation.
The Life Foundation.
Dude, it is so blatant. It's
The Life
hilarious. It's
Foundation.
called the Life Foundation. And it's like, it's not a white dude. It's like a maybe Middle Eastern, maybe Indian dude. I don't know why they chose to go with that. Maybe that's canon. Who knows? But it's Elon Musk. It's fucking Elon Musk, but one-dimensional. It's all like, it's what Twitter hates about Elon Musk packed into one character. It's fucking hilarious.
What does Twitter hate about Elon Musk?
He's arrogant that he built a submarine that wasn't used. He's a bit of an asshole. I mean, all the stuff you don't like about mega-rich celebrities, billionaires, whatever. But taken to the nth degree of like he's testing the symbiote on homeless people to find out, and it's under the guise and all of his lines are so vapid. They are just devoid.
Give me an example.
Okay. So they bring a homeless volunteer into a chamber with the symbiote. Volunteer doesn't know the symbiote's there.
So Elon Musk has a
laboratory.
Is he the villain of the
movie?
movie?
San Mateo. He is. He is the villain.
So he got the alien goo, black goo,
mm-hmm.
and he's testing people. So like Nazi era experiment shit.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Kind of, yeah. He replaced occultism with sci-fi, Lovecraftian shit out in the middle of nowhere of space, right? Okay, so he's testing it. And this long-haired homeless guy walks in, and he turns around and goes, wait, I'm scared. And Elon...
he goes, you have my permission to die.
No. Oh, no. Even better. Elon Musk's character, called Carlton Drake, Carlton Drake. He puts his hand on the glass, separating him from the test subject and the symbiote, and says, you remember the story from the Bible of Abraham sacrificing his son Isaac? The real hero of that story was Isaac. And I don't believe in God or nothing, but you're our Isaac. And I laughed. I cracked up laughing because I was like, really? And it was just...
It's not like the first time. Maybe it sounds like it was out of place and way over dramatized, but they did that in Blade Runner too.
Yeah, but here it was ridiculous.
It was just ridiculous. You are our Isaac.
Be seriously.
Blatant,
there's
not even metaphorical.
There's no dimension to him. And it was at this point that I realized, oh... this story is ridiculous. And I started enjoying it. And I have a big problem, and this has been recorded across a lot of our podcasts. I have a huge problem with Marvel's, and by extension, Disney's insistence on like quippy one-liners.
Mm-hmm.
This does that, but well. It's all fucking stupid. It's not clashing in tone. It's all consistent. It's all B-movie levels of dialogue. It's all fucking awful. And it's hilarious. It's really funny. Because it's established from the beginning. Tom Hardy. Let me get to Tom Hardy now.
So how much money did they put into this movie?
$100 million.
$100 million to make a B-movie?
How much? You want to know how much they've made?
$59 million.
5.8.
5.8 million?
Yes. They have not made 7%.
And it's only opening weekend.
Now, that will change. That will change over this weekend, of course, and we will re-examine the numbers at that point. But my point is...
When was it released?
It was released, like, earlier. Critics released their initial impressions Thursday. Today. It was released today.
Okay, then that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, we'll give it a week. But the point is, that's a really low showing. That's a really, really
Is
low
it
showing.
for one day?
Well, for $100 million budget movie and you've made 5.8,
It's first day.
doesn't matter.
They opened it in the middle of the week.
For a lot of other movies, like they've achieved much higher, especially for Marvel movies.
Okay,
This
sure.
is a fucking flop. But this is why I'm talking about this.
But they knew that going in. They just decided to make it anyways, didn't they?
No. Sony and Marvel. This is a joint Sony Marvel thing because
What?
well, remember because Sony owned Spider-Man for a very long time and have only recently been slowly relinquishing the rights to it because Disney owns Marvel and Disney wants all of Marvel and Spider-Man is Marvel and Venom is part of Spider-Man. So it's a weird middle ground of like what company owns it. But the point is, Sony, Marvel Studios, and Disney are so tone deaf and so out of touch
That they made $100 million B movie?
they made $100 million B movie and it's awesome and they don't understand why. And the critics don't understand why. And I've read some critic reviews and some of them understand it. They're like, I'm really confused. Tom Hardy's funny. This is all ridiculous. But this is like a Marvel movie. It's bad. And I'm like, no, dude. It's a bad movie. And it's really enjoyable. Because it's fucking stupid. Okay. It's a B movie.
So, all right. So where were we?
All right. So Tom Hardy's character. I love Tom Hardy. He's really good. He's an English actor. He's British, right? He talks in the
Which is it? Is it English or British?
Yes. He talks in a ridiculous New York accent. Like, so unconvincing. But he maintains that consistent level the entire movie. And it's hilarious. He honestly sounds like he's channeling Charlie Kelly from It's Always Sunny. It's kind of high-pitched. It's very, like, weaselly. It's really funny to hear.
I knocked on her door and I said, Carol!
Carol. What are you doing? Like, why are you? I got a parasite in me. Like that's how he talks the entire time.
This costume is too sexy.
Seriously. And I'm listening to it going, is this really his voice?
Is that New York? Whatever.
It's I don't know who the voice director was on that, but hey, that's what it was.
Well, okay.
Go see it for yourself. I can't really describe it. Anyway, so he's our protag, right? He is he's a producer. He is now in San Francisco, and he's an investigative journalist. And then he gets asked to interview Elon Musk. He asks
Mr. Mordrake, Edward Mordrake.
Carlton Drake. He's engaged to a lawyer in San Francisco who has a laptop, and he stumbles upon her laptop and somehow knows her password and then finds a bunch of dirt on Elon Musk. I'm just going to say Elon Musk because that's who it fucking is.
Elon Drake.
And basically takes all the info to the interview, asks him a bunch of uncomfortable questions that, basically are like, that's the point of the movie, is that he's a bad guy and he's using homeless people for testing. And he gets fired. She gets fired. She breaks up with him. His life is in shambles. He gets,
So Elon Musk falls from grace.
Oh, yeah. And then 6 months pass. Like, this all happens in the first 10 minutes, and then boom, 6 months pass, which is B-movie pacing. Like, there is no... It's insane.
Okay.
That's another good indicator this is a fucking B-movie. And he's, like, trying to find any job. He circles on a newspaper, dishwasher, because he can't get any leads from anybody. And it's just like, he's hard on his luck. And he's talking to people. He, like, makes friend with a homeless person. He makes friend with a convenience store cashier. And they're like, you look like shit. And like, you're really down in your luck. So he falls from grace. And then there's two symbiotes in the movie.
Two goo symbiotes?
Two black goo things. One gets out and is...
One's a good one, one's a bad one.
Wow, you guessed it.
Okay.
You guessed it. That's how thin this plot is. So one of them is inhabiting people. Like the shuttle crashes in East Malaysia, and it's slowly.
And I guess they're trying to trick you about which one's a good one and a bad one.
Not really.
Okay.
No. So one's in East Malaysia, and it's possessing people and killing everyone along its way. Eventually, hops a plane to SFO. The other one was kept in Elon Musk's lab. And then it gets out after a botched experiment.
Okay.
And it eventually finds Tom Hardy's character. Now, they compare it to an organ transplant. and that if you don't have an exact match, it's not going to take. So the symbiote's trying to find someone who it matches.
And this is the good one.
Yeah, and it happens to be Tom Hardy.
Conveniently, okay.
Very conveniently, it happens to be Tom Hardy. Not explain why. It just is.
So
Genetics, DNA, whatever.
He's the good Venom. He's the angel Venom.
Yes. Now, what makes this dangerous is that if it inhabits a body that it's not a perfect match, it eventually destroys it. It feeds on its organs. And so this is also a danger for Tom Hardy, and I'll get to what happens in the ending, but essentially, it's bad. The parasite is bad. It's called a parasite for a reason.
It's a bad thing that happens to our good character.
Yes. So, Tom Hardy...
Even though it itself is the good one.
Yes. I mean, it's the anti-hero,
so we
like
have a
you
Tok'ra.
said. Pretty much.
He's a Tok'ra.
Yeah,
okay.
No. It's a bad parasite that needs to be controlled. So, eventually, Tom Hardy gets infected. He doesn't know what's happening. He gets internal dialogue from Venom in that deep, gravelly voice, and it's hilarious.
Like, what does it say?
It just says, "Eat that thing's head."
Seriously?
Yeah. It just says blatant shit. It doesn't hide it at all. It starts speaking for itself through him, but like no one else can hear it, so he's talking to himself constantly. And it's just so terribly delivered that it's hilarious. Again, B-movie level.
Who did the voice of the Venom?
I don't know. Actually, I want to look that up. I haven't looked it up yet. Okay. I just got home.
I'm sure it's like super overproduced.
Oh yeah, no, it's going through a vocoder. It's going through a plugin for sure. But it's fighting with him all the time. It's saying hilarious things. There's this great scene where he goes into a restaurant, a fancy restaurant in San Francisco, and he based his ex.
How fancy? Did they serve the water in mason jars?
No, but there is an aquarium full of lobsters in the middle of the dining room floor.
That doesn't mean anything.
It was nice. The
you
point is, it was nice.
You can go to any Asian restaurant in San Francisco and see the same thing, and you can even point to it and say, "I want to eat that."
It was a nice restaurant. That's the point. He goes to meet his ex. His ex is dating a doctor, of course. And the doctor says, "Wow, something's wrong with you." And Tom Hardy says, yeah, whatever. And then goes and sits in the lobster tank after trying to eat a random thing and just like eats a cooked piece of meat and says, "This is dead." And then throws it and tries to eat live lobster. And you get, oh, it wants to eat live things. That's
and
the
that's
symbiote
supposed to be like shock value right there.
No, it was just ridiculous. It wasn't even shock value. It was just like, oh, the symbiote wants to eat live things.
I know, but was it like supposed to be? Was it supposed to shock you as the audience?
No, it was just supposed to be a reveal.
It was just supposed to be ridiculous?
Well, because he like took a bite of steak.
Okay.
Who cares?
Right.
This is dead. I'm going to eat lobster. And he sits in the lobster tank. And you can just tell Tom Hardy's having fun with it.
Okay.
Because he doesn't even like... It would make sense if he dove into the lobster tank and started ripping apart lobster. But he doesn't. He just gets in and sits in it like a fucking jacuzzi. And says, "This is nice. This is fine."
And sits back against the glass.
Yes, that's what he does. So they take him and he gets a MRI scan. And then it turns out that a certain kilohertz range of sound, 440 or 460, which is not what MRIs produce, I don't think. I could be wrong. They just randomly, they have to establish that a sound decibel level of a certain range
kills the venom sound?
It disturbs them and it can hurt them. Also fire. They just throw that out there at one point. Also fire. That's also my weakness. He says that. Okay. He just gives this shit up. And then eventually, so Elon Musk is trying to hunt him down because he wants the symbiote back, blah, 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 blah. A lot of exposition happens, not really important.
He's in New York and there's all kinds of sounds.
San Francisco.
It's okay, fine. He's in San Francisco and there's all kinds of sounds that you think 440 kilohertz would be like happening all the time.
It's 440 or 460 at a certain amplitude.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure, here's the funny thing. I saw this knob on my audio interface here. I saw this in the movie. I saw this module. I'm pretty sure it was mine, or they just used the same part.
Okay.
Anyway, random aside.
Oh, you saw like a knob
I thought I saw this thing, but with red lights instead of green. Okay. I want to say they borrowed that. Anyway, point is, so they use that.
Nobody's going to know what you're referring to.
No, but whatever. So I eventually... there's a big standoff, and the bad symbiote's taken over Elon Musk. Elon Musk is like totally complicit because he just wants to solve the world's problems. But
I thought you said it was in Malaysia. Did homeless Drake man?
It made its way to the airport and then landed in SFO, and then eventually made its way back to Elon Musk.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah. So They're fighting, and before they fight, Venom, the parasite, tells Tom Hardy, I'm a bit of a loser on my planet, which is why I like you, and I don't want to take over Earth, and that's what we're trying to do here. Which is the most cliched bullshit I've heard in a very long time.
So he's like, oh man, I know there's other versions of it, but Rick and Morty's what comes to mind with the dumb.
Which is
the
a
dumb
show that
Rick.
parodies dumb plots, from
Similar
sci-fi.
to sci-fi, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's just like, oh my god, so phoned in. But either way, Tom Hardy goes, yeah, okay, fine, we need to save the Earth, whatever, let's do it. And he gets captured, and he gets the symbiote thrown out of him, and the symbiote wanders off, somehow connects with his ex, and his ex, as a symbiote comes in and saves him, and this is where it gets weird.
Whoa. That symbiote could have gone to anybody in the city, but it goes to his ex.
Well, because she was nearby, and his ex wants to save him. So,
Okay.
is only in her for a little bit, not going to kill her, but is, enough to get over there quickly. And there's a firing squad about to, put one in the back of his head, and it takes all of them out. And then it becomes a really sexy Venom with giant tits, and then they make out.
What?
Yeah, that was weird.
Female Venom.
There was a female Venom, and it was very attractive, and it was very weird, and that was weird, guys. I don't know if that's canon, but that was weird.
Was it attractive?
Yes, it was very sexual. It was very weird.
But you found the sexual thing attractive?
It had giant tits.
So okay.
It was like Lara Croft levels of like, look how sexy I am. And so they make out, and then it takes over Tom Hardy again, and they bring that up later. That was weird, guys. I don't know why you put that in there. Was it necessary? I don't know. Point is, it's in the movie. So Tom Hardy gets the symbiote back. A lot of exposition happens. They go fight the bad symbiote because it's trying to take off into space with a new SpaceX rocket to go to the home planet to get a bunch of other symbiotes and take over the world. And he blows up the rocket, and yay, everything's done. And that's the movie.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
It's a B movie.
Okay.
It's a B sci-fi horror movie with $100 million behind it. And they did not realize what they made.
Mm-hmm.
The dialogue is terrible.
Or maybe they just didn't care what they made.
Maybe. It's goofy as fuck. There's so many lines that are funny, not because they are well crafted, just because of how they're presented in the situation is funny. It's like I'm watching Best of the Worst when I watch this.
Mm-hmm.
It's hilarious. The plot construction, again, I don't know if this is canon for Venom stuff, is every sci-fi B movie that involves aliens, crash lands on Earth, takes over somebody, or stalks, or terrorizes a town. It's so paper thin.
Mm-hmm.
The villain is one-dimensional. The hero is, of course, a loser down on his luck that says ridiculous things.
So it's everything that we've seen in the past 20 years, not adding to it at all.
No.
In any way.
No.
Other than, hey, look, we CG'd some black goo on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, like a turd on wood.
Oh, so that shows up.
So can you tell me about that line then?
So that shows up at the very end of the movie. After all the resolution happens, Tom Hardy's walking around walking around town, and he's talking to himself because Venom can hear him that way, and everyone's looking at him going, "What's wrong with him?" You think they'd be able to communicate telepathically at that point, but whatever. He's talking to himself, and the symbiote says, "So yeah, I need to eat things." And Tom Hardy says, "Okay, if you're going to inhabit me, we need to set some ground rules. You can only eat bad people." Yay, he's an anti-hero, and they're setting that up for some stupid bullshit. Why Spider-Man can't kill him off, right? And it says, okay, well, how do you know the difference between good and bad people? You can tell. And
they shit in the wind.
They go back into the convenience store, and in the prior convenience store scene, a guy showed up and held a cashier at gunpoint for protection money. It's clear he's part of the mob or some Chinese gang.
A convenient bad guy who doesn't deserve to live.
Oh yeah, and so that happens again. You saw it coming from a mile away, and Venom approaches him and says, "You're not going to do this anymore. You're not going to extort money from them, and if you do, I'm going to tear all your limbs off. You're going to be a weird torso.
Why don't you just eat them?
I'm going to tear all your limbs off, and you're going to be this wandering torso floating around like a turd in the wind." Ha 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 ha.
Seriously?
That's what it was. That was the payoff for that joke. But props,
it was not a joke. It's
props
imagery.
to them. Something in the trailer made it into the movie, which is rare these days.
But I think it's
But then
more
he goes,
imagery,
you know
but
what,
it's
never mind.
Weird fucking imagery.
Well, he just says, never mind, actually eats his head.
Is there okay.
Yeah.
Is there a trend of bad jokes in this movie?
Well, none of them land.
Yeah, but
none of them land for the right reason.
Are they jokes or are they like
jokes.
moments?
They're both. Both. There are some legitimate moments that got me to chuckle.
On purpose?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not a lot, but it's a lot of Tom Hardy just like, he keeps calling Venom a parasite, and Venom hates that. He doesn't like being called a parasite, but he keeps explaining to other people to justify his behavior.
We are not gold.
Well, he says that. He says we a shit ton. Yeah, you hammered on a point there. I kept thinking about Stargate watching this,
Really?
but it's more goofy. I mean, that's what I keep bringing this back to. It's a B movie that doesn't realize it's a B movie, and that's why critics are so confused. And I fucking love it.
So, what are the critics saying then?
They're saying that the pacing is terrible, the writing is terrible.
It sounds terrible.
Tom Hardy's funny, but everything about this is bad. And I'm just watching this going.
And this is a Marvel movie, so it's meant to have an element of humor.
It's meant to be that weird balance of serious feeling and all that stuff. But it's all but it doesn't make any sense. The tone of the movie is consistent, but it doesn't make any sense given other Marvel movies.
It seems like a really, from what I've seen from the trailers, it seems to have an overall tone that's darker.
Well, the trailers are awful. They're an awful representation.
Okay, so it's not as dark as the trailers make it seem, because it seems almost like...
It's supposed to be dark, but it's not at all.
Okay.
Because it's so goofy. So you know how we were watching Thor Ragnarok, and you had two...
We couldn't get... Well, we watched that on our own.
We watched 15 minutes.
We couldn't get through very much of the movie at all.
Because the previous two movies were mostly serious, very epic adventure, and then a lot of little quips here and there,
yeah,
right?
memorable jokes throughout those movies, but when we sat down and watched Thor Ragnarok...
It was all jokes.
We weren't sitting in a theater of people, but the jokes were landing, were hitting every, consistently every 5 seconds, to the point where all right, here it comes again, and it's going on and on and on. And so we were like, is this a movie, or are we
is this real life?
Is this stand-up?
That's the funny thing. So there was a huge tonal clash between the first two Thor movies and Ragnarok. They did not match whatsoever, and I'm like, I don't know what you're giving me here.
It's almost like you're hitting a rhythm of jokes. So
we got to be funny. People like Guardians of the Galaxy, be more funny.
No.
Do more of the funny.
It's almost like somewhere somebody said, you know what? Make sure there's a joke every 10 seconds. If there's not a joke every 10 seconds, I don't care if it's in the first second or the last of the 10 seconds. There's got to be a joke in there. And if you're not hitting it, we're gonna be mad or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So this does not suffer from that problem.
Okay.
Because we don't have a prior establishment of Venom in this particular cinematic universe run. We just have Tom Hardy, and he's comical. The whole movie is comical.
Yeah, but is it hitting that rhythm?
Not intentionally, but in such a bad way that it's hilarious. And that's what I'm trying to get at. It's so bad it's good. Unlike Slender Man, which was just bad, and you kind of laughed at it out of pity, this is just comical in the ways that it fucks up.
Okay.
It's hilarious. What blows my mind is that the reason it's failing is because this is not how they sold this movie. This is not how they intended this movie. But this is how it came out. And I read a review or a headline saying what was it? Venom does poorly, but it maybe doesn't become a cult classic. And that got me thinking, okay, maybe there's something to this. What's going on here? And I sat down and I watched it, and sure enough, they're right. This is such a weird outlier for a Marvel movie and for a superhero movie this day and age. It doesn't feel like most of the others. It feels like someone's adapting a comic in a very comical way.
Okay.
It's bizarre. I'm not saying you should go see it tomorrow. I'm saying when it comes out on streaming, we should watch it together. Because it is just a fun B movie to watch. It's a fun, bad movie to watch.
Okay. And it's just surprising to you that a movie with this much money behind it, with this much talent behind it, could come out as some sort of Army of Darkness,
yeah.
style
Yeah.
production.
Well, and the funny thing is that the 100 million clearly went to mostly the CG. There's not that much in the film that is over the top spectacular effects. A lot of it's just Tom Hardy running around, yelling at himself, and then CG gets spliced in,
Yeah.
which kind of adds to the charm because it's not like he's on Alderaan with a lightsaber doing random shit. He's just kind of running around a dingy city, yelling at himself, and people are giving him weird looks, and he's delivering terrible dialogue, and that really does add to the tone of just bad B movie.
Okay.
It's hilarious. It's so dumb, and I love it.
Cool.
I know. It's just an unexpected thing for me. I went in hoping to be entertained, and I was. There's other stuff I could say, but really at this point, all I can say is, if you got time, go watch Venom. It's a fun ride because of how terrible it is.
Or, you could,
Do anything else.
watch a good movie in the comfort of your own home or go to the beach because it's...
Well, you know what?
It's fall now.
You know what?
Well,
Everyone...
at least for us.
It is. Everyone in the theater was on the same page for this. I didn't hear anyone laughing at all the jokes in a way of, ha ha ha, that's funny. It was, oh God, they said that. Everyone was on the same page. This is, Marvel fucked up, probably because they partnered with Sony on this, and Sony can't do anything right. And maybe that partnership is bred this weird, black sheep of a movie. It's hilarious to me. I love it. I love it. Go check it out. So that's our episode. Unless you have any other questions.
Were any of the scenes other than him sitting in a fish tank in the middle of a restaurant like a jacuzzi?
Oh, great.
Were any of the scenes memorable visually?
Yes. Okay. Sorry, no, not visually, but the lines delivered do kind of draw me in.
So the lines and the acting are really what's special.
Well, like what I said, most of the the film is just him running around San Francisco. There's not a lot of fanfare given to, oh my God, this scene. Oh my God, this set.
Oh my God, look at our spaceship. Oh my God, look at...
The spaceship shows up twice. At the very beginning, at the very end. That's
Chris Hemsworth spin around for a minute in this beautiful place.
A lot of it really just is him talking to himself into the symbiote. And...
That does sound
channeling
like fun. That would sound like fun to
Charlie Kelly. It's fun to watch.
Okay, when you describe it with that last sentence right there, now I want to watch it.
Yeah, and then that's kind of the nice thing. It did feel like a much more smaller movie. It all takes place, except for a little bit of East Malaysia, in San Francisco. San Francisco's a big city. We've been there many times, but
more
it all
of a
feels
grounded, smaller story.
Yeah.
So the worst thing that could happen, the MacGuffin of this movie.
The MacGuffin is the symbiote, but the symbiote's a character.
I get that, but let's say the bad guy wins. What happens? The Earth is destroyed. The universe is destroyed.
Yeah, the Earth is destroyed because the symbiote reaches its home planet, brings back more symbiotes, and they all just take over the Earth.
Okay, that was the.
That was the crux of the story.
So it's the Earth hangs in the life of the balance.
And only Tom Hardy and two losers can team up to make less of a loser to take out the bad guy.
Right.
And that's so ham-fisted because that's the inconsistent thing. Tom Hardy's not a bad reporter. He's a very good reporter. He's a very good investigative journalist. But because
Tom Hardy or his character?
His character. Eddie Brock, whatever.
Brock and Drake.
But that's the bad thing. Is you're too good. You asked too many questions. We gotta fire you because the system, man. That's the fucking crux of his being fired. And it's so stupid. It's dumb. But hey, that's how you got to get to it.
Okay.
I know. Again, B-movie plot.
Okay.
B-movie
all right. You
pacing.
said that 30 times.
I don't know how else to explain it.
Explain it in terms of amount of... Rate the movie.
Rate the movie? Oh, boy. I have one more thing to add, actually. There's a lady scientist in it.
There's a lady scientist.
Who doesn't do any science. She just says... This is unethical. I'm a scientist. Eddie Brock, I've got a lead. I work there. I'm a scientist. Look at my badge. And it's the most lip service bullshit you've seen. Well, they don't even do any science.
Is she in a lot of the movie?
Yeah. He's an insignificant
Really?
part. Well, that's the funny thing. It's like, again, B movie plot. Here's science.
Oh my god.
Here's science. What do we do with it? Like, what is it in genetics and biology? The symbiote's there. Okay, it merges with the body. Okay, here's an X-ray. What does this mean? It's eating your liver. It's like the most base level bullshit.
You're not gonna like it, Jim.
Essentially,
His
yeah.
brain's gone.
Really, it is. It's oh man, it's amazing. It's amazing. So if I had, oh man, the music's Marvel music. It's utterly replaceable. There's an inkling of a theme to it, and it's just like a 3 or 4 note pattern, and it comes back maybe twice.
Three or 4 notes. That's the movie. That's the music they devoted uniquely to this movie.
Oh, bro, that's most movies now.
Yeah.
It's sad, and they could have done something fun with it, but it just sounds like Marvel music. They could have done something so much better, but they didn't.
You call me your bro.
Bruh. Brohead. If I had to rate it, well, none of these references will make sense. I'm gonna give it on the enjoyability scale. I'm gonna give it an 8.
An 8.
I had fun. I had a lot of fun. It was unexpected. It's probably the best Marvel movie I'm gonna see for the next 10 years.
Okay.
Because I don't have faith in any of the other ones. Because this is such a very special environment of Sony and Marvel fucking up together.
I keep saying that, but then they have an Aquaman movie. Well, I have to see that
Dude,
one.
I saw the Aquaman trailer.
Movie.
I saw the
They
Aquaman
have
trailer.
to have that. Okay, so tell me about the Aquaman movie.
It's exactly everything I thought it would be, which is that same goddamn recycled.
I think I've seen it too, but
okay. Hey, I think I gave you the comic books at one point, right? The New 52 run. No, I think I gave that to our other friend. It's the plot that sets up him in the Justice League, which I know, which I think even non-comic book fans know at this point. His brother Orm is angry at the surface world, and he's got to stop him. And I'm like, dude,
that's just because everybody knows the story. It's not a reason not to do it.
It's so boring.
But like,
It's
everybody
so
knows.
boring.
Okay, whatever.
It looks awful. It looks dumb. And I love Jason Momoa as much as you do. Like, it just looks dumb. They should have done that timeline where they put him in the fucking trench, in the Mariana Trench, and there's weird, like, Lovecraft deep ones in there, and he has to fight them. That's what they should have done. That shit's fun. This one's just.
But then they couldn't.
Oh, my brother.
They couldn't look at how beautiful Atlantis is for half the movie.
Yeah, they can. That's where you start, and then you just flash back to Mira being like, "God, I hope he's okay." Anyway, that's the episode.
But then not all the Atlanteans can fight all the humans or whatever.
But that okay. Well, if you want to see that, and if you really want to, I'll go with you. But that's what the movie is. Hooray!
Yeah, I mean, Aquaman. Oh my gosh.
And he
I don't
looks
care.
sexy. He looks
That's
sexy.
not. I have no idea what you're talking about. But this was a very important episode that you got me up for.
Thank you for entertaining and humoring my drunk ramblings about this ridiculous movie.
Oh my god, it's a B movie. Like
it is.
30 times.
Marvel made a B movie.
Okay.
And they didn't know they were making one. And Marvel, if you're listening, spin it this way. You'll make your fucking money back. You probably won't because you're dumb as fuck. But
well, B movies are cheap, and that's a problem, right?
And they spent $100 million on a B movie.
This has to have value in them.
You stupid bastards. Oh my god. Yeah, more Raygun Readers content, who the fuck knows? I mean, we're kind of doing it as we do it at this point. But thank you for tuning in. That's all we got. That's all we got. We got stuff planned. We'll see if it happens. Life's crazy right now.
And we'll try to do more stories written other than movies. I think that's important.
Yeah, no, we have a lot of stories we read that we liked. So hopefully we can get back to that soon. Thank you all for listening, and goodbye.